I wanted to create a program that would celebrate the orchestra. So I've chosen 3 orchestral fireworks. First of all, Shostakovich's Festive Overture, Stravinsky's Ballet Petrushka, and Tchaikovsky's First Piano Concerto. These are all pieces full of brilliant orchestration, vibrant colours in the orchestra, and virtuosity, not only from our musicians, but also from our soloist, Tianxu An. And we start with Shostakovich's Festive Overture, one of his happiest and most ebullient scores. So Shostakovich is a very interesting political case. Traditionally, people have seen him as writing music that supported the regime, the Soviet regime. And that was very important because if you wrote music during Stalin's lifetime that didn't please him, it didn't matter if it was popular with the public, it didn't matter if it was a success with other musicians. If Stalin didn't like it, the piece was dead, and probably so was the composer not long after. Shostakovich lived in fear his whole life with a suitcase packed at the door, ready to leave if the police came to get him in the middle of the night. Now, in recent years, we've begun to look at that as a little bit of a simplistic way of looking at him. There are many examples in which we see now messages encoded in the music that are actually against the regime. For example, famously, the end of the Fifth Symphony, where instead of rejoicing, we get the impression that Shostakovich is being forced to rejoice by being hit with a stick saying, "You will rejoice, you will rejoice." The Festive Overture, though, is a little bit more of a simple case. In 1954, Shostakovich was visited by the conductor of the Bolshoi Theatre Orchestra. And because of some political intrigue, the original overture for a concert had been scrapped. It had been banned. It had fallen foul of official favour. And Shostakovich was asked to write an overture for this concert that was only 3 days away. Shostakovich sat down, and we know from one of his pupils who watched, he sat down at the desk and began to write the music straight away onto the full score. Just like Mozart, he was able to continue conversation as he was writing, telling jokes and messing around, all the while scribbling away in the full score. And in less than an hour, he had completed the 7-minute piece. He handed it with the ink still wet to the copyist, and it went straight away to be written for the orchestral parts, ready for the rehearsal. Now, you might think that that was a piece that Shostakovich didn't value because he wrote it so quickly. But actually, on the single occasion that he was invited to conduct in the United States in the 1960s, which was with the National Symphony Orchestra, of which Rostropovich, the famous cellist and conductor, was music director, Shostakovich chose to open the concert with the Festive Overture. So we know that it's a piece that he loved dearly. It's a piece of incredible energy and enthusiasm, bursting forth from the beginning with a wild melody in the orchestra that takes us on an incredible journey. It's a very exciting way to open the season and the concert, and I'm sure you're going to really enjoy it. So, it's 1911, and Stravinsky has had a massive success with the Ballet Russe in Paris, which is Diaghilev's company of Russian ballet dancers who come to Paris every year to titillate the French audiences with exotic Russian dancing. He's already had the Firebird, which has been a huge success. The Rite of Spring will come in 1913, but in 1911, he writes the first ballet based on his own story, Petrushka. Now, Petrushka is like Punch and Judy in English and American culture, or Pulcinella in Italian Commedia dell'arte. He's a puppet who does various mean things to other characters, but it's a magical story. Now, the score is one of the most important modernist things in early 20th century music. It's a score that's full of new chords, new folk songs, new harmony. But like I said, it's a ballet. So what we'll be doing in this performance is projecting the story along with the music, because Stravinsky wrote incredibly detailed music for specific action items in the piece. So Petrushka's in 4 tableaux. The first tableau is a street carnival in 1830s St. Petersburg, and we meet Petrushka, who's a puppet, a ballerina, and a blackamoor, all controlled by a magician who runs the puppet hut. Then in the second tableau, we realize that Petrushka is left alone when he's not on stage in a lonely cell. He's in love with the ballerina who teases him. The blackamoor makes fun of him as well. The ballerina is really in love with the blackamoor. He's the kind of bad boy. The third tableau is basically concerned with the blackamoor, all kinds of hijinks. And then in the fourth tableau, the blackamoor murders Petrushka. And in a very sinister moment of music, Petrushka's ghost appears to the magician and terrifies him because, of course, it's a puppet. How is this magical puppet able to scare the magician who's a real man? Now, when you come to our performance, we're going to be projecting the story above the orchestra, so you'll be able to follow the score and enjoy the music in an entirely new way. No concerto is more famous, with its thundering chords in the piano and a gorgeous melody in the whole string orchestra. Tchaikovsky's first piano concerto has been beloved for generations. But not everybody loved it. In 1874, Tchaikovsky took the score of the concerto to the most famous pianist of the day, Nicholas Rubinstein. Tchaikovsky later wrote about how he played each movement to Rubinstein, who received it completely silently, Tchaikovsky comparing it to serving a friend food and being embarrassed when they didn't say if they liked it or not. At the end, finally, Tchaikovsky said, "What did you think?" And Rubinstein exploded, saying that the piece was worthless, unplayable, broken, disconnected, trivial, and common. But he then, seeing how upset Tchaikovsky was, said, "But if you alter it to my recommendations, I might include it in one of my concerts." Tchaikovsky looked back at him stonily and said, "I shall alter not one note." See what you think as we welcome superstar pianist Tianxu An, a prize winner in the 2019 Tchaikovsky competition, to play this masterpiece for us here in Jacksonville on our brand new Steinway concert ground.